Welcome, everybody, to the City of Farmers Branch study session for Tuesday, October 21st. Our first order of business will be public comment. I don't have anybody signed up to speak at public comment right now. So we will move on to item C1, which is to review and discuss consent and regular agenda items. So I'll start on my left. Councilwoman Bennett?
Nothing.
Councilman Reed?
Yes, I would like to, oh, wait. That'd be for this, right?
That'd be for later on.
Later on, yeah. I would like to have, I'm sorry, why don't you get back to me?
I'll come back to you. All righty. Councilman Villafranca?
Yes, thank you. I would like to move item J7 to the regular agenda, please.
Hold on. Item J7
Yes,
to the regular agenda?
that's correct.
Okay. Well, now you threw off my numbers. Okay. That will become L4. Councilman Neal?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay.
I'm ready.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
okay. I would like to move item C6 to the regular agenda. C6 will become L5. Okay. And Councilman Reed?
Yes, I'd like to move item J3 from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
Say that again.
I'd like to move item J3 from the consent agenda to the regular agenda.
J3. Okay. Then J3 will become L6. Okay. I think we got all of that. Good. All right. Moving on. Next up will be item C2, provide an update on the city's current grants and grant opportunities.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Addison Holmes. I'm the grant coordinator here at the city, and I'll just be providing with you guys an update over what our grant progress has looked like in this past fiscal year tonight. So first, there we go. First, going over just the priorities that go with this position. Of course, what we've been focusing on the past year is compliance management, making sure as with the federal government changes, different things going on within our grant programs, we're walking through and making sure that we are remaining compliant with each grant that we have, going back through, fixing any issues that we might have seen, making those remedies now so that way we're staying within that compliance that we're required to by our agreements. Next is the financial management. We just, obviously, that's very important to us, going through different grant budgets, making sure that we are charging appropriately for our grants and what has been budgeted for each of those grants. We do a lot of research and grant application. That's both in my role and our departments as well. We'll bring different grants as they come up to me and we have these conversations. And so I'm sure as you've seen many grant applications go before council this past year, that is something we've been working on. And then also just liaisoning with staff, making sure that other departments know that finance is here to help them, to work with them on these grants, and to be that person to keep in touch with them. So those are some of our priorities. Next is, these are all of our current and active grants that we have, and so I'll kind of give you a status update on every one of these grants. And so first up, we have the Venue 1842. That was our Economic Development Administration grant. So we are actually in the process of closing out that grant right now. That is one of our federal grants, and so with the federal government shutdown currently, they do not affect any of our grants. It has affected our communication, though, with granting agencies. So that is not true for all federal grants. There are certain programs that they've prioritized communication with, but unfortunately, the EDA is one of the departments that we have no communication with. So hopefully soon when they open back up, we should be getting communication on any last steps that we would need to take to close out this grant. For our Texas Parks and Wildlife grant for Hoya, just considering any additional project actions currently as we're finishing out last expenditures, and then as we get closer to closing out that project as well. Next, we have our 3 Texas Department of Transportation grants. So these are all at different phases. The West Side Art Trail, that contract was just awarded recently. Next, we have the Valley View pedestrian crossing. They're finalizing design on that right now. That'll then go out for bid. That's kind of where we're at. The Denton Drive Trail expansion, that one's a little bit different. We charge Texas Department of Transportation grants at different portions of a project. So that one actually won't be charged until we hit a construction phase. So that's why you see no update on that. Next, we have our DART ILA. We actually just put in for our first reimbursement that's been approved, so we should be receiving that from DART soon for a little over 1.6 million. Next, we have TDM's to Cooks Creek grant. I know that that one is usually asked about, and so we actually have good news that at the end of August, we received news from TDM that they received word from FEMA that it looks like all of our expenditures will be approved. We should be receiving confirmation about reimbursements coming up soon. Again, with the shutdown, that's been delayed a little bit because they have to go through TDM and then come to us. We don't really directly contact FEMA on this grant specifically. Next, we have our ARPA projects. So these are the Justice Center, Branch Connection, and Hoya are our last 3 that we're just kind of expending those last remaining funds on. We're gonna hit that deadline in this next year, and so just making sure we're remaining on track that projects are getting expended on so that way we're not returning anything that we have previously been given. Next, we have the Texas Event Trust Fund program. So this was for the pickleball event that was held last year. The way that this event fund works is that they let us know upfront what they anticipate our amount will be that we get. We have currently submitted all invoices for that project, for that event. And so what they're doing now is they kind of go through and verify that they're all within the scope of what they have said that they'll reimburse and verifying those numbers. So we should hear back pretty soon on whether we've gotten all those fundings back or not. Next, we have the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. This was for the catalytic converter grant for fiscal year 24. We're in closeout of that project now. We are finishing the last report, getting all of that done. For the fiscal year 25 version of that grant, we're still in reporting periods. So we have just about all of our equipment in. We're now just kind of reporting on that progress as the grant period continues. Next, we have the task force grant with the Motor Vehicle Crime Prevention Authority. We are in the process right now of purchasing all the necessary equipment that goes with that, working with Carrollton PD and just starting that program up now. Then we have the state and local cybersecurity grant. So this grant is also in closeout. We will put in our last fiscal expenditure report tomorrow, and it'll close out at the end of October. And that entire project has been completed, so all the work is done on it. Next, we have the Blue Cross Blue Shield Texas National Fitness Campaign. So we are ready to move forward with that, depending on council decision on budget later this evening. And so all the necessary steps are ready to be taken by the departments. Next, we have the Texas Event Trust Fund program for this year's Event Trust Fund program. So we have already been tentatively awarded the amount that we think we will get back. We have submitted all of the required agreements. We're now just waiting for the event to occur so we can go ahead and submit the numbers and all the necessary invoices that we need to afterwards. Then we have the Dallas County Housing Replacement Program. This is the ARPA funding that was passed through Dallas County to us. they've now been beginning to work with Builders of Hope. That contract has been given, and so steps are being taken on that project as well. Next, we have the Texas State Library and Archives Commission grant. And so this one is, we've been accepted it. We're now beginning the steps on the project to begin working on accessibility for readers in our community. Next, we have the Best Friends Animal Welfare Grant. So our shelter is actually a partner with the Best Friends Animal Welfare Program. So they reached out to our shelter with a grant for our fostering program. So that's what this is for. Next, we have the Rifle Resistant Body Armor Grant Program through the state of Texas, and we're beginning procurement on that now, getting the right vest, starting those POs for that. And then we received word at the end of September that or at the middle of October, excuse me. So during the shutdown, it was delayed slightly based upon the day that we thought we'd hear from them. We did hear from them that we were awarded the COPS hiring grant. So for those 3 positions that were budgeted for PD. And so we'll begin that award acceptance process now, go through the paperwork, make sure we have everything properly done. So currently for the grant amount total that we have for our projects, it's a little over $38 million. And so that's kind of where we're at for our totals for all the projects that we have. For any upcoming projects, we have the North Texas Council of Governments COG Solid Waste Grant Program. So this one we have been one step awarded. So it goes through their Sustainability Environmental Council first. So we've been awarded this amount at that level. They're now just waiting COG Executive Board approval, which is pretty rare to not receive. But this program is actually for our emergency management department to work with the 3 other cities in our area to help work on disaster debris plan management after the previous year's storms, and to work on workshops that will help our departments in all of the cities be able to work together in those events, and also work specifically on plans for our own city. And then we are also working on a TxDOT traffic signal grant. So this is one that TxDOT reached out to COG, who reached out to us, saying that there was funding available for a project that will work on traffic signals. And so they're going through the process right now of having them do some site assessments, looking at different things like that, working on a potential AFA. And so we're meeting with TxDOT and seeing what next steps need to be taken before this is brought before council. And that is all I have. I'm ready for any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Addison.
I have no questions. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Great presentation. Great job by you and your team.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Biafranca.
Do we already have the identified spot for the traffic signal? I feel like we have really been,
So for those projects, what they'll go through and do is they assess every single site that we have with a traffic signal, to my knowledge. And I think, and I'll let Public Works correct me if on this, but I believe for this project, they're assessing every single position, and it looks like the funding might cover a decent amount of what we have in the city for it.
I thought I understood that one traffic signal costs like, I don't know, $800,000 or something like that.
I believe, and I can let Ray come up, but I'll let you answer that if you want. But I think the grant itself is not for the full signal. It's for some of the equipment that's going into our signals.
So that is correct. We're not, the signal itself, it's there, the guts of it, per se, but we're upgrading the scan technology from receiving and letting the signal know that there's a call there for it to turn whatever, green arrow, green, whatever it is that's coming there. These are going to be upgraded. And we're doing this, if you remember, the council's priority was to do the entire city. And we set aside $800,000. We're trying to leverage this to give us even more money to make sure that the upgrades get done in time. But there is going to be, as Addison spoke to before, some delays with the AFA and getting that all together.
I really appreciate you being so proactive. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Councilman Neal.
Great job, Addison. 38 million, that's something. We ought to take note of that. This is a great presentation, and I'd like to ask, if it's the will of the council, I'd like to suggest that we have this sort of a report done on a quarterly basis, at least, so not only us as representatives, but our residents can hear all the great work you're doing from a grants perspective and how much that's helping our city. Thank you very much, Addison.
Welcome.
Thank you. I would second that also. So I'm sure city
At 30.
staff will make that happen. I have no questions, so thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next up is item C3, receive an update on the Sister City program.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. Darren Harris, Deputy Director, Economic Development. I have the pleasure of giving you an update on the Sister City program. The purpose is to evaluate the current Sister City relationships and to explore the reactivation, expansion opportunities, and to make sure the alignment is with the mission, vision, and values for the City of Farmers Branch. Looking into the background, the program was established in 1956 with President Eisenhower to promote citizen diplomacy, cultural exchange, and peace building. You asked us, staff, to look at the past costs of related expenses and trips. And looking at the past costs, it cost us about $30,000 to host the city, another $10,000 for us to travel abroad, and then anywhere from $350 to $520 for the annual dues. Looking into the future costs, it'll be about $500 to $900 per person to travel to Garbson, and then another $1,600 with additional expenses. The same for Bacelaw, England. It'll be anywhere from $635 to $986, and then another additional $1,600 looking at additional expenses. And to date, with the Sister City budget, we have $20,000 allocated for the FY 25-26 year. You asked us to look at the criteria that was used for the Sister City program. This is the criteria, the 6 points that they use, but cities can also choose to use their own criteria when choosing a Sister City program. Also, you asked us to look at expansion possibilities, so we did look into Mexico and Korea, and before we establish another Sister City program with any of those cities or those two countries, we have to make sure that we get the mutual agreements brought forward first by the highest elected officials. Looking into the Sister City commonalities, we're looking at Bacelaw, England. We already have those cultural things established. When we look at our Yuletide tea that we have on Saturdays with the in Farmers Branch parks, and then we also have the Christmas Dickens festival that we have in the parks as well. They align with us also with our schools through student exchange programs, and then we also have the, statement that was signed by between Texas and the UK. It's a mutual cooperation agreement that was signed to deepen investments and trades that we're having here in the city. When we look at Garbson, we also have a mutual cultural existence already made through our German school, and we also have the manufacturing and technologies that are being traded with Garbson as well. And we're also doing cultural exchange programs with them as well in the City of Farmers Branch. We also asked to look at expansion cities and what the commonalities would be. With Mexico, we have a strong trade agreement that we already have established. 79% of the trade comes from Texas. That goes between import and export, so 79% of our business is going into Texas and coming back as well. And we also have the establishments with our businesses. 53% of our Hispanics are, 53% of the Hispanics in the metro area are already established here, and then we have the businesses and the cultural exchanges that are done with our festivals and events that are had here. When we're looking at Korea, again, we also have a strong cultural exchange. We already have the South Korean church that's established in Farmers Branch. We also have the several headquarters here with Samsung and Syntex Hynix. And then about 399 Koreans are established in Farmers Branch.
Where did you get that figure from?
The 399? Mm-hmm. That was on, I can get you I don't have it here, but I can get you the research. I have the research. back in the office, but I can get you that number. Yeah, it's about 1% is established as Korean in Farmers Branch, and that equates to 399 people, but I'll get you where I got that from. Looking at the summary of findings, the existing cities, Basel and Garbson, show strong alignment with our culture, our finances, and trade depth distinctions. We're also looking at the inactivation of the program. We need to reactivate it and select new liaisons and have a budget allocated. We're looking at Mexico. Like I said, we already have established high cultural and trade potentials with the number of Hispanics we have here, as well as the proximity to Mexico. And the same with South Korea. We have the education, trade, and culture already established here with the Korean church, and then the citizens that we have here and the business that we have established here as well. And so, in conclusion, we're looking to do a formal review and a cost-benefit analysis before we expand to any other programs. And again, like I said, we need to establish new liaisons. Our past former liaison was Bronson Blackson, and he was a former councilman, and Rachel Johnson, who was a staff member still with the City of Farmers Branch. And as I stated, the program has been stalled since 2020, so we need to reactivate it. Next steps, again, would be to select a new liaison and to have a formal expansion for Mexico and South Korea established at the highest elected levels. And that concludes my presentation, and I'll take any questions or concerns that you may have.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Bennett?
When will you have the cost analysis for us?
That's what I can get you so far,
Okay.
because
But
we
to
do,
add, when will
Okay.
we have the cost analysis from you to add another city or two?
I can get that for you. I'll have it for you.
All right, thank you. Wonderful.
Councilman Reed?
When a delegation goes to visit a sister city, how many people are approximately in that group?
In the past, we look at like anywhere from 4 to 10 people.
4 to 10 people? Okay. All right, thank you.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Great presentation. Thank you so much. Just a reminder, this month is German Heritage Month, which there was a very nice social media post. And we can even do simple things like have something on social media with all of us saying hello in German or some, some other fun thing. We have Christian, who's very creative. I think that it would be really, really important for us to continue the Sister City program. For some reason, I thought we had 2 cities in Germany.
Well, the other one was a friendship city.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a
Okay,
sister
thank you
city,
for
it's a friendship
clarifying
city.
that. I'm not opposed to continuing with the sister city and the friendship city that we already have, but I do think that it is important to expand it. I think Mexico, Korea, they're just about to open an H Mart over on Royal Lane. Like that is Koreatown, literally a mile away from our, or less than that from our city. So I think it would be really important to pursue those 2 cities. But there are also things that we can do that are not necessarily a huge expense, that would be fun, and that could be build bonds between our cities. That was a really great presentation. I appreciate you. And also, I really would love to be considered, I don't know if this is the moment, but I really would love to be considered to be the liaison. And I might remind you that it's really cheap to fly to Mexico. I'm already in communication with the Consul of Mexico. They've requested some information that I'm waiting to get.
We actually have that memo that's already been
Oh,
created.
great. So
Yes.
as soon as we get that information, we're going to send it to them. And of course, one of the important criteria is that it be safe, because there are some areas in Mexico, that are not safe, but they would ensure that we would have a city that is a really, really good match for us. So I am looking forward to working with everybody. Thank you.
And let me say, Councilwoman Villafranca, we also reached out to Mark Beasley's office already to try and establish the relationship with Mexico to expand it to possible sister cities there.
Councilman Neal?
I just have a similar question about the cost to expand, either one or more. So I'd look for that information, much like Councilwoman Bennett Burton had requested. And second thought or comment I have is, You mentioned in the presentation that we've had a limited engagement with our existing sister cities. Do we have any plans or objectives to sort of reinvigorate that? I mean, I do like the idea of the sister program, but I'd like to know what we can do to sort of reinstantiate it or get it moving again. Do we have anything in progress to do that? Any plans?
Nothing in progress, so we could look into that, because usually the travel happened every 5 years, but we're looking to reestablish it.
I didn't know if there was like any phone calls to be made or touch base with whomever and,
We'll look into doing that, Councilman.
okay. That's all I had for now.
May I add
Mayor.
something, Mayor?
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
sorry. So I'm seeing that the budget is $20,000, and we would not be visiting each sister city every year. So that is, in my opinion, well within what we would spend in a given year.
Right, it's typically every 5 years.
Thank you.
I have a couple of thoughts on this that I'd like to share, if you could. First of all, I'm not a fan of just giving a trip to give a trip to staff and/or residents. There needs to be some benefit, some direct benefit to the city. And I'm not sure that we've seen that in the past from the Sister City program. In addition, I don't know how the program or the relationship with England has a direct effect on business in Farmers Branch. So perhaps that's something that we can address at some point down the road. Germany, a little different. We do have a German school that is located in Farmers Branch. We have a business that we are currently working to recruit that does have operations in Germany. And so there might be some benefits to continuing that should that relationship pan out through some other city efforts. Mexico City, I don't have any issue with that. You look at the population of Farmers Branch being 54% Hispanic, I think it makes sense that we probably have a relationship with some city in Mexico, whether it's Mexico City or not. I'm not the expert there, but I know, again, that we've been working to try to recruit a company headquarters from Mexico to move to Farmers Branch. You mentioned Congressman Mark Vesey. He has such a small sliver of Farmers Branch. I don't know why you chose him versus, say, Julie Johnson or Beth Van Dyne, who have served larger portions of our city, and I think could probably be as helpful. Use all your assets, not just one.
Okay.
Regarding South Korea, I don't recall when that country was discussed in particular or why it made this list. I do know that we have the Greater Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce is located in Farmers Branch, over near 635 and the Tollway. I'm not aware of there being 399 Koreans that live in Farmers Branch. If that's true, that's great. Just adds to our diversity. But just a church here by itself is not reason enough in my mind to try to create a program with a country. I think back on my meeting with Simon Lai, who is the director of the Taiwanese Chamber of Commerce that is located here in Farmers Branch. And he took a group of business leaders, including Mayor Munz from Plano, to Taiwan, and six companies agreed to open up satellite offices in Plano as a result of that trip. So that has definitely paid dividends, huge dividends for them. So I think there needs to be a more strategic approach to what we would like to do and the benefits that it could provide our city. Again, in simplest terms, if there's not direct business benefits, I'm not sure that we should continue to program. It's fine to do things culturally but that's why we have a multicultural festival. I want to be involved with businesses that have a footprint here and in their home country. So maybe we can have some more discussion when you bring other information back.
Okay.
May I add something, Mayor?
Yes,
I do recall that when we talked about Korea, we talked about the proximity to Koreatown over on Harry Hines, as well as Koreatown and Carrollton. And based on all of the warehousing that we have on the east and west side, it sounded like it could possibly be a good marriage for them to have facilities for all of their goods.
and if I'm blanking out on that, that's my fault. So I just didn't recall it. So, all right. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is item C4, discuss an amendment to the Code of Ordinances related to parking regulations for oversized vehicles in residential areas.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of council. My name is Sam Chavez. I am the Director of Community Services for the City of Farmers Branch. What I'm bringing forward to you tonight is a continuation of the September 2nd work study session with regards to oversized vehicle regulations. So the objectives from previous meetings and the last meeting have not changed. The objectives are still to regulate oversized and commercial vehicles and residentially zoned property, to enforce similar ordinances that are similar to our per municipalities, reduce the overcrowding of vehicles on residential streets, to improve the livability of the residents and neighborhoods, and also to reduce the weight on residential streets to reduce the damage to these streets caused by these vehicles. What is being proposed to you this evening is, again, feedback and comments that we last received, and really it's a combination of feedback that we've received over the last year based on previous presentations over this item. So what's being proposed this evening is in the proposed ordinances, we have defined vehicles and oversized vehicles. The ordinance would prohibit RVs, boats, box trucks, dump trucks, tow trucks, trailers, or any vehicle in excess of 8 feet in width and 21 feet in length. And this is a direct comment that was provided to us at the last presentation. It would prohibit oversized vehicles in residential districts. It would prohibit parking, storing vehicles in rear and side yards unless concealed from right-of-way by either permitted walls or fences, landscaping, or a combination of both. And then lastly, it would provide an 18-month grace period. And again, this is a direct comment and input from council. The last item there on the screen, that as proposed, the ordinance does not impact the recently approved House Bill 2464, which is the no impact home-based businesses legislation. So staff's intent would be to communicate this plan through the branch bulletin and branch review, social media platforms, and then also take a proactive resident customer contact as we observe these probable violations taking place. With that concludes this portion of the presentation. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Councilman Neal, you had requested this, so we'll start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, and thanks for the presentation, Sam. Good work. I had the privilege to look at some of the results of a poll that was put out to the residents. And there's quite a bit of range of support and non-support of this. That it seems just a few of them, some of the comments say that these items look unsightly in their neighborhood, renters are abusing the parking situation, blocking streets or blocking sidewalks. So there's safety, visibility issues, congestions, obstructions. Others are saying that the city looks like a trailer park. I don't know if a trailer park's good or bad, so I don't know why they would make that comment, but they did. Others made comments about mirrors on their vehicles getting hit or struck because of the narrowness on these roadways, because people are parking these things in their driveways, and then they have to park their car on the street. So it just makes for some more congestion. And the only other thing I saw here was that the survey is biased and that we should just scrap it. So there seems to be a wide range of comments that came out of this latest poll. And I just like to add that the reason I wanted to address this or try to address it is because this is an issue on our streets with regard to parking generally, as well as damage to the roadways because of these vehicles, heavier types of vehicles that are now being parked there. So I just was hoping that we can address some of that in some way. Not to mention the safety aspects of blocking views and visibility. That's not rampant. But as I look at all these sort of things, I tend to think that maybe we have a little more of a code enforcement issue that might need to be worked a little stronger, a little harder, particularly the ones where vehicles are blocking sidewalks and blocking streets and safety, visibility, and things. So I guess I'm a little bit torn that maybe we need to focus a little bit more on the code enforcement side of things before we do something that might be too restrictive in this area. So I'd just like to have a little more conversation. As I understand it, I think this committee this task force the mayor has is still convening and still meeting. I'm not sure how much longer that's going to go, or if we'll be getting any sort of reports from them, nor do I know if they're making any reports to you, Sam, as to their progress or what's happening there. So those are just a few comments or thoughts that I have. I don't know if it's been all that helpful, but some of these items that I just see on that questionnaire seem that many of them could be addressed by code enforcement if we could get code enforcement to step up a little bit stronger with our current code enforcement regulations. Thanks. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Bennett.
Ben, can you speak to, before I have any questions, can you speak to the task force and whether they will be able to present to us or not?
Who'd you ask that to?
Ben.
So based on the structure of the task force, they would lend their voice to the council through the mayor, and the mayor would share the voices of the task force with the city council. They're not appointed by the council, so they don't have that ability to present to the council through traditional means.
Did they understand that?
Those that have communicated with me directly, I believe, do.
Okay. They understand that now?
That is my understanding
Did
based
they
on
understand?
emails.
Okay. Did they understand that at the beginning?
Based on the questions, I do not believe so.
Okay. I received copies of those emails as well. It's the reason I'm asking Ben to address that, because I just sent them all to him, because that's his place, not mine. So I guess on the survey, as I looked at it, do you have that? Can you pull that up?
No, ma'am, I do
Okay,
not.
you're good, not a problem. I too noticed that the majority are not in support of this. I know it appeared like, from those that reached out to me from the task force in my district, I had two residents that went knocking evidently on everyone's door in District 1 and District 2 that had one of these parked on their lots in any fashion. And the majority are not in support of this, and their neighbors are not in support of this. And I found that very interesting. But I also agree with Councilman Neal that when I looked through these responses, it really did appear that we just needed to do better with some of our parking enforcement. And that in and of itself would lend itself to alleviating some of the issues. And then we could properly come back around and review this. So that's my two cents worth on that. Thank you.
Councilman Reed?
I too got a copy of the survey, and from what I saw, it's kind of split 50/50. From a simple question, basic question, how does it bother you to see these vehicles parked visibly in the neighborhood? 36% not at all, 16% slightly bothersome, so that right there is 52%. And then moderately bothersome and extremely bothersome is 48%. So it's just about a 50-50 split. So there definitely is an issue out there. I think we need to dig a little deeper on that to see what direction we want to go. You know, I don't want to throw code enforcement under the bus. I think they do a fantastic job. And we all can do better at whatever we do. So it seems like there is a little bit of opportunity there to address these specific type issues. I don't want it to sound like they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. They definitely are. I see them out there a lot, but there's a lot to cover. So I don't want to throw them under the bus by any means. But that might be a starting point.
Councilwoman Villafranca?
Thank you so much. Did the poll close already, or are we still open to receiving?
Should still be open.
That's what I thought. So it's not over till the fat lady sings. We don't really know. These are just preliminary comments.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes.
What we know so far. Okay. I have been to every one of the task force meetings, and it's really been clear that it is a task force indeed. I know that the two residents are in Councilwoman Tina's district. Both have expressed, one of them has, quite a few things going on their property, and I can understand why they would be upset. But the vast majority of the people on that task force are in agreement that there needs to be something done. But they were told by the mayor, I try to just not listen, I try not to, they were told by the mayor that, every time we have feedback and papers and sample surveys and research, the mayor always indicates that he will go back to the city manager to report and see what the next steps will be. So I'm not really sure where there could have been a misunderstanding about the authority of the task force. I think that they were each meeting, it was clear that it was a task force and not a committee I just want to clear that up. Personally, I do know that there are some communities that really do have a lot of stuff. Like if you have a boat in your driveway that you haven't moved in 20 years, it's not likely you're going to move it. And so some of these things, I do believe some of these things can become an eyesore. But on the other side of the coin, there are some, working people that bring their work truck home in the evening and have, equipment in it. And I don't think that they should be penalized or removed from keeping their work truck in their driveway until they leave in the morning. So I think that this is a step in the right direction, and I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
If I could, let me just provide a little more information. So the task force, which serves as simply that, it's not a board or a commission. Because it's a task force, and our charter allows that to be created, these folks have gotten together numerous times now to have discussion about the subject. The subject is boats, campers, RVs, and trailers. We're not talking about work trucks. At the very first meeting, I said, we're here to discuss. And the folks who are participating in this were not necessarily hand-chosen by me, But it's interesting that several people spoke up at my town hall meeting and said, hey, we'd like to be on that. Okay, great, you're on it. It's as simple as it was. I didn't ask, well, do you own a vehicle, one of these vehicles or not? Didn't ask. Don't care. I do know from our conversations that there is one person who doesn't have any of these vehicles. And he's a former city councilman that was involved way back in late 90s when the city was trying to pass an ordinance. Everybody else that is a participant, except for, I don't know about you, has one of these, one or more of these vehicles. We have a former code enforcement officer who's got 2 boats. We have somebody who's got a big RV, but their lot is 200 feet deep. And so they're able to park their vehicle behind a fence, back far enough, not visible from the street. I think we've gotten some very good input from the participants of the task force. They have been scouring ordinances in various cities. And again, this issue has been percolating since at least 2016, but that I know of, but it goes back beyond that to 1998.
Correct.
Okay. And nothing definitively has been done. So the task force did come up with a survey. Well, the city manager was nice enough to share his survey with us. We looked at that. We had created our own survey and refined our own survey and then found out, no, we can't influence that. So the survey that the city put out, one, hasn't been out that long. Two, initial results, I think, were skewed to Councilwoman Bennett's point of view because we had 2 people that were on the task force that really, one has said, well, if you take away my right to have my boat on my property, I'm going to move. Okay. We heard you. We didn't say, go ahead and move. We just said, we heard you. So we have people who actually have some of these items that are in favor of a new ordinance. And we have a couple that are at the other end of this spectrum, which I think is good because it's all made for really good discussion. The survey, I don't know that it's been out long enough. I think it really needs to run maybe for a month because it continues to get talked about and other people are continuing to take it. So I want to give everybody the opportunity to weigh in since this council has not decided to have a formal town hall meeting on this particular subject. If the survey is the only way that residents are allowed to provide their feedback short of coming here and speaking, then we need to make sure that we have it up long enough for residents to do that. And it will continue to get percolated or promoted rather, I'm sorry, in notices that I'm sure some of the council members put out on their own. But so I'd say the information is not complete. I do agree with Councilman Reed. We need to dig deeper. And it's going to take a while to read through all the commentary because the city allowed for open-ended input on some questions. And so that's going to require a lot of reading. But just as Councilwoman Villafranca said, there are vehicles parked all over the city that have not moved in years. I've lived here 27 years, and I know, because I see on some of the streets that I travel on a daily basis, that there are vehicles that have not moved. Could you classify them as inoperable vehicles in order to have them forcibly removed from a property? I don't know. It's not my decision, but somebody needs to have conversation about that. Our city's growing. Everybody, every resident here, we've had people come to speak before city council that they say, oh, the appearance of Farmers Branch going to hell. Looks like a trailer park. Well, I don't really buy that, and I've seen some really nice trailer parks, but do we want a neater and cleaner city? Do we want cars off-street? Because when you have vehicles such as boats, campers, RVs, and trailers parked in driveways, then that's forcing people to park their other vehicles on the street. And we hear a lot about street overcrowding. So I would like to wait until we get to I think another week and a half. We were planning on having another task force meeting. We were going to let the study run for about a month, and that would be plenty of time. Then give everybody on task force time to review the findings, then be a part of any discussion that the council might have. I can tell you right off, the 18-month grace period, while Richardson, when they enacted an ordinance, they gave everybody 2 years, 24 months. 18 months is too long. Even the task force people have said it's too long. They're looking at, well, the early sentiment was 6 months, but I think a year is probably more acceptable. So that's where the task force is. I know, Councilman, you had requested some information. We haven't had to take formal minutes because we're not a city board. It's more a group getting together, a group of very concerned citizens that have gotten together, that have had conversation about this, that have been trying to formulate some basis that could be provided to the city to create a workable ordinance. Yes, go ahead.
So, thank you for that, Mayor. When do you think this task force will be completed? You said another meeting or two. Like, I'm just trying to figure out when we can take some action on this.
Yeah.
Either we move forward with this or we strike it. Just
I think we
what's the
take
timeline?
action.
What timeline
Yes.
look like?
So I think we take action. The council would certainly have the ability to take action, I think, before the end of this calendar year, or this year, not the fiscal year, but by December. I think one more meeting, which would probably be around early November by the task force, would give us enough information so I can come back with their findings, and then we have discussion. So maybe you'd want to schedule more discussion on this second meeting in November, and then if you are contemplating any action, depending on if staff can turn something around quick enough, then perhaps either the first or second meeting of December. Yes, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to clarify, on page 2 of the presentation, the very first bullet point indicates regulate oversized and commercial vehicles. That's why I wanted to clarify that we did not want to penalize people that bring their work truck home,
Yeah.
and leave in the morning.
And there already is a separate address of that in code for work vehicles, vans, box trucks, things of that nature. We are not addressing those types of vehicles.
That's correct.
And then the final thing is, this sounds like this has been going on for decades. Maybe, I don't know if this is even a possibility, but is this something that we would be interested in putting it out for the residents to vote on during voting?
Well, that's up to the will of council. I'm not sure. I think that's what they elected all of us to do. But the only way you can make that decision is by getting resident input. In my town hall, we talked specifically about this topic. This task force was designed specifically to talk about this, this item. And, you know, if it was the will of council to have a town hall or do something else, that's fine. But no, you'll have strong feelings on both sides. Because the owners of vehicles don't necessarily want to give up the right to have them on their property. Some do, some are indifferent, some are saying absolutely not. And then those who don't own these vehicles have their reasons for opposing it. So just know that
May I?
you're liable to get a shouting match if something, if a town hall was to be had specifically on this. Yes, ma'am.
So at every national night out that I went to in my district, none of them had a boat, RV, or trailer in their yard. And every single host acknowledged to me that they did not care. Did they say they thought they might be unsightly? Yes. But did they feel like we should be dictating what somebody else puts on their personal property? No. And I know that some of those people answered that survey. They told me what their answers were. So the survey does need to stand, but it wasn't just those two on the task force that went out. It wasn't just owners that spoke to me, people that have none, and young people, I might add, that I was quite shocked by, were like, that's not our place. We shouldn't dictate what our neighbors should have on their lot.
I appreciate your input. I will tell you that there are residents of this city and other districts who feel differently. And so we need to be respectful of that. And, you know, one council district doesn't speak for the whole city, and that's why you all as a body will have to make the decision as to what the next step or what the next ordinance will look like.
Can you synopsize our next steps for me?
I would expect to have the survey completed within probably, it's been out there 2.5 weeks?
End of the month.
By the end of the month, okay? You all will get a recap of that, just like you were provided after week 1. And then if the survey's over at the end of the month, then I would like to have a task force meeting that probably sometime that first week of November, and see what comes out of that. And that, because the task force, I forwarded the survey to the members of the task force so they could see what was going on. Again, I'm not pushing anything other than trying to get resident input on a very important issue that's facing our city. That's it. And so if we do first week of November, we'll miss that first council meeting to take any action, but you still got second meeting of November, first meeting of December, second meeting of December. Good?
If I could add one.
Yes,
If
sir.
I could add one comment. We will continue to strategically look at health, safety, welfare items related to vehicles that are parked over sidewalks. This proposed ordinance is really intended for private property as opposed to what we have on the books already with regards to parking of those types of vehicles on public streets. So these are totally separate, but we will continue to do that, to look for those situations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Good, good. Okay, thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to read us into executive session because I don't think we can get through the next item in time. So let me just start with D1. Be patient with me, please. Item D1, City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, personnel to deliberate the appointment, employment, compensation, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee. The municipal court judge pursuant to Section 28-23 of the Farmers Branch Code of Ordinances. Item D2, the city council will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney to seek legal advice regarding matters related to the sale and use, tax reallocation, and repayment to the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. Item D3, City Council will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Branch Project 2025.017. Item D4, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.087 of the Texas Government Code to discuss economic development incentives for Farmers Branch Project 2025.020. Item D5, the City Council will convene in closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.074 of the Texas Government Code per personnel to review, discuss, and evaluate the city's legal representation. And item D6, the City Council will convene into closed executive session pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code, consultation with attorney to seek legal advice regarding matters related to Dallas area rapid transit, including but not limited to correspondence programs, funding, agreements, and any associated legal rights, obligations, or potential actions. Thank you. So we will meet in the city manager's conference room. We will be back out here at 6 o'clock.